In 12012, thousands of knights gathered for a crusade. Their mission was simple: travel to Jerusalem, fight for Christianity, reclaim one of the holiest cities in the world. 2 years later, they had invaded the largest Christian city on earth, which was not Jerusalem. At some point, something had gone catastrophically wrong. This is the story of the Fourth Crusade. Or put another way, how an army traveled thousands of miles, spent fortunes, overthrew emperors, shattered alliances, changed the course of European history, and somehow still missed its destination. To understand how this happened, we need to start with Jerusalem. In 1187, the Muslim ruler Saladin defeated the Crusader states at the Battle of Hattin. The defeat was devastating. Much of the Kingdom of Jerusalem's military strength was destroyed in a single campaign, and within months, Jerusalem itself had fallen. The loss shocked Christian empire. The Third Crusade followed, led by famous figures such as Richard the Lionheart. Although the Crusaders recovered important coastal cities, Jerusalem remained outside Christian control. So, in 1198, Pope Innocent III called for another crusade. Unlike many medieval rulers, Innocent was energetic, ambitious, and deeply committed to strengthening papal authority. He hoped a successful crusade would unite Christian Europe under a common cause. Thousands answered his call, knights took vows, nobles raised money, families mortgaged land. Many genuinely believed they were participating in a sacred mission. There was just one problem. Jerusalem was over 2,000 miles away. And moving a large medieval army across the Mediterranean required something most crusaders did not possess: a navy. Fortunately, Venice did. At the start of the 13th century, Venice was one of the wealthiest cities in Europe. Its merchants controlled trade routes stretching across the Mediterranean. While most kingdoms measured power in castles and farmland, Venice measured power in ships. And nobody built ships better. The Crusaders negotiated an enormous contract. Venice agreed to construct a fleet capable of transporting tens of thousands of men, horses, supplies, and equipment. It was a massive investment. Shipyards worked for months, trade slowed, resources were redirected, the entire city committed itself to the project. Then came the awkward part. Not enough Crusaders arrived. The expedition had expected around 30,000 participants. Far fewer actually appeared in Venice. As a result, the Crusaders could not pay what they owed, the debt was enormous. Imagine hiring an entire moving company only to discover half of your family had cancelled and taken the money with them. The Crusaders needed ships, Venice wanted payment. Neither side could easily walk away. The leader of Venice, the elderly Doge Enrico Dandolo, proposed a solution. The Crusaders could help Venice capture the city of Zara. In return, the debt issue would be addressed. Now this was already a problem. Zara was a Christian city on the eastern Adriatic coast. Even worse, it was under the protection of the King of Hungary, who had himself taken the Crusader vow. Some Crusaders objected immediately, others abandoned the expedition altogether. The Pope explicitly forbade the attack. The Crusaders attacked anyway. In November 1212, Zara fell. The Pope responded by excommunicating much of the expedition. This was not an ideal start. The crusade to save Christianity had already begun by attacking Christians. And somehow, this was only the beginning. While the Crusaders remained in Zara, an unexpected visitor arrived. A young Byzantine prince named Alexios Angelos. Alexios had a problem. His father, Emperor Isaac II, had been overthrown, blinded, and imprisoned during one of the Byzantine Empire's many enthusiastic succession crises. Alexios wanted his throne back, and he came bearing promises. Lots of promises. If the Crusaders restored him to power, he would pay their debts, provide military support, supply the crusade, and help reunite the Catholic and Orthodox churches, which had been formally divided since 1054. To a group of heavily indebted crusaders with no obvious path forward, the proposal sounded irresistible. So, they accepted, and instead of sailing toward Jerusalem, they sailed toward Constantinople. Constantinople was not just another city, it was one of the wonders of the medieval world. Founded by Emperor Constantine in the 4th century, it had served for centuries as the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. Its inhabitants still called themselves Romans. Its markets connected Europe and Asia. Its churches contained immense wealth, and its famous Theodosian walls had protected the city from countless invaders. Many armies had attempted to conquer Constantinople, most failed. In 1203, the Crusaders arrived outside its walls. Against considerable odds, they succeeded. Alexios was restored to the throne alongside his father, and for a brief moment, it looked like the plan had worked. Then, reality intervened. Alexios had promised huge sums of money. The problem was that the Byzantine treasury did not contain huge sums of money, at least not enough to satisfy his new allies. To raise funds, taxes increased, valuables were seized, tensions escalated, the population grew increasingly hostile. Relations between the Crusaders and the citizens of Constantinople deteriorated rapidly, riots broke out, buildings burned, political instability spread through the city. Eventually, Alexios was overthrown and killed. Suddenly, the Crusaders found themselves outside the richest city in Europe, without payment, without allies, without supplies, and without a plan again. In April 1204, the Crusaders made a decision that stunned the medieval world. They attacked Constantinople. This time, they were not restoring an emperor, they were taking the city for themselves. After fierce fighting, the city fell. What followed was one of the most infamous sacks in medieval history. Churches were looted, relics were stolen, libraries were damaged, works of art disappeared. Treasures accumulated over centuries were carried away across Europe. Even some contemporary observers who supported the Crusaders were horrified by what happened. The greatest city in Christian Europe had been conquered by fellow Christians. The Byzantine Empire survived in fragmented successor states and would eventually be restored in 1261, but it never fully recovered its former strength. Many historians regard the Fourth Crusade as one of the greatest disasters in medieval Christian history. The Fourth Crusade began with a mission to reclaim Jerusalem. Instead, it deepened divisions between Eastern and Western Christianity, weakened the Byzantine Empire, and permanently altered the balance of power in the Eastern Mediterranean. What's remarkable is that almost nobody involved originally intended this outcome. The Pope wanted Jerusalem, the Venetians wanted payment, Alexios wanted a throne, the Crusaders wanted salvation. Every decision seemed, at least in the moment, like a practical solution to an immediate problem. But every solution created another problem, and every problem carried the expedition further from its original goal. By the end, they had crossed seas, spent fortunes, overthrown emperors, conquered the wrong city, changed history forever, and somehow still missed Jerusalem.